Good morning, Wareham. It is Friday, December 20th. We have a great show here for you. The news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, a permutation of letter W is causing a lot of fuss between the Wareham Gatemen and the Worcester Red Sox Sox team. To comment on this story and the possible lawsuit to follow is the Senior Vice President of Wareham Gatemen, Mr. Glenn Hannington. We'll be chatting with Mr. Hannington during our coffee segment. And what does romance, church, and anthropology have in common? The answer is Leon Monty. We will be chatting with Mr. Monty on his love for Ghana and his mission to provide education to orphans in the region. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the news headlines and the weather report are next. All right, so we are going to start with Wareham Week. The transfer station on Route 28 in Rochester and Benson Brook in Marion will be closing on December 31st, year 2020, following a vote on Wednesday by the Carver Marion Wareham Waste District Committee. The committee's current is considering what to do with the district's assets and ongoing liabilities. The motion also indicated that any towns wishing to continue to operate the transfer station on Route 28 should begin discussions and work toward an agreement that could begin on January 1st, the year 2021. The future for waste disposal in Wareham and Carver is much less clear. The Wareham Board of Selectmen voted on December 3rd to authorize Selectman Jim Menis and Town Administrator Derek Sullivan to meet with Carver representatives to discuss running the station together. But the Carver Selectmen have not yet authorized those discussions. The district's contract with Covanta will expire on December 31st, 2020, so the committee needs to decide the future of the waste and do so in time for it to be approved by voters at town meetings. And despite opening season with a win last week, the Wareham boys hockey team lost their second game on Wednesday against Dennis Yarmouth Regional with a final score of 3-6. We played against a tough team today, said Wareham boys hockey coach Rich Valtivics. The Vikings' next game will be against Sinknock at the New England Sports Village in Attleboro at 5 p.m. on December 21st. And at 7:17 a.m. on Wednesday, a car drove off Island Brook Drive and plunged down a hill through the woods and into a small body of water. The driver was able to get out of his vehicle before the Wareham Fire Department arrived and was transported to Wareham Emergency Medical Services to be evaluated. The town of Wareham is currently conducting an online survey to gather public opinion about natural hazards in Wareham. The survey, which would take less than 10 minutes to complete, is available online. The survey should be completed by January 5th. The survey asks about the methods and techniques respondents prefer for reducing the risks and losses associated with natural hazards and will be used in the development of the Wareham Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. Contact Town Planner Ken Backlund to learn more about how to participate in the development of this plan. And that concludes this morning news headlines. Let's take a look at what is happening outside and this week. You say Frozen. It is sunny today, high at 31 degrees, but oh my goodness, I cannot feel the sun. Can't feel the sunshine. It's cold. Partly cold tonight with low at 19 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cold, cloudy, sorry, not partly cold, cloudy. Partly cloudy skies during the morning hours, then becoming overcast in the afternoon. We are looking at 36 for a high and 27 for a low. On Sunday, some good news. Will warm up a little. A few passing clouds, otherwise generally sunny. High around 43 degrees and low around 30 degrees. And that concludes this morning and this weekend's weather forecast. Right now, we are going to take a look at one of our featured programs of the day. This is a newly produced video, and that is taking a look at the Echo Elizabeth Home and Company home offerings that is located at what used to be the old company store. I had some interviews. I took some time and interviewed 3 of their artists there to see what they make and what is available at their store. Take a look. Elizabeth and Company Home Offerings, also known as Echo, is home to over 100 local artists. The shop features locally sourced, revitalized furniture, art, natural products, and gifts. Lots and lots of them. Here are some of the artists that you may be buying from.
They're all created with a seashell base.
They're gorgeous. So tell us how you got started. What inspired you to start working with seashells?
Regina Scotland, a really close friend of mine that passed, and she saw my artistic talent, and she was an artist herself. And she inspired me. She saw my artistic talent.
Where do you get your ideas? Do people request something?
No, first I started off with the most common pets, which are cats and dogs. And I made quite a few. I've tried to make almost everything I can think of so far. I've made donkeys for Peaceful Pony. I've made elephants, dogs.
Very good. So what is next for you? What are your visions telling you? Disney. What about Disney? What you telling me? Disney. You want to make Disney characters?
I think they already pretty much are.
Okay.
And all they need to do is run, dance, and sing and play.
I've been knitting since college, and I'm somebody who has to be productive all the time, so it's not enough to have 2 businesses when I'm at night, home at night watching TV, Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
I have to keep busy. So I'm knitting away, and there's only so many hats I can knit and sweaters for my grandkids, so I said, I might as well just start knitting stuff for the store.
Beautiful. Now, do you also take in requests for those who are listening and watching you and they have an idea? Do you take in requests?
I could do that. Yes, absolutely.
So how do you describe what you do? Is there even a name to it?
Well, the name I sell my items under is Sea Whisper.
Okay. What does that mean?
The name came about as a result of a statue that I saw. And considering the area, it just appealed to me, and I use it to identify the things that I make.
And what are the things that you make?
I make varied things. I'm not committed to anything. The one thing I'm committed to here is everybody seems to like my little holiday pins. The one that was most popular this year, I think, was the bat. I made a Halloween bat.
Yes.
And I just kept making them and making them and making them. I had lampshades that I tore apart, and I used them as the frame for my wing chimes. I had silverware, so I made them the chimes for it, used the beads.
And so you do, and your things are all gorgeous. They're whimsical, too. I mean, it's like, what was the idea behind this?
You just see the materials and say, what can I make with this? And I think the prices are very reasonable, so that you're not spending a fortune and worrying about, oh, is the weather going to destroy it, and that sort of thing. So I try to keep it pretty practical.
At Echo, there is something for everyone. From jewelry, wood carving, aromatherapy, handmade arrangements to classes for those who would like to do it themselves. Well, welcome back. It's not the coffee segment yet because I have two wonderful guests today. So we are going to hear from our first guest, and this is Leon Monty. Monty. Okay, so we are talking about the opening was what is love, anthropology, and Ghana have in common, and it's you.
Oh, well, you're painting a very great picture of me. But
So let's start with you, where you grew up before we get to Ghana and what you're trying to do in Ghana.
okay. Well, I'm one of 9 children. My mother was the youngest of 9, and she had 9 children. So yeah, we didn't have too much growing up. So we certainly know the value of a buck, you know, and how far one can be stretched.
Yeah.
Went to Catholic school in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Had nuns for teachers, and taught us the ways of the Lord, you know. And well, we went on to public high school, vocational high school.
In New Bedford.
In New Bedford, and worked in trades and worked in boat yards, and eventually I married a woman from Ghana.
But eventually you married a woman from Ghana. What happened between eventually and
Well,
what happened out in the middle? Where did you meet your wife?
Okay. Well,
Because I think it's your wife's connection or her background
Absolutely.
that attracted you to Ghana, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Well, I was always interested in African music and drumming, percussion,
Okay.
because I was a drummer. So I studied some African music, West African drumming a lot, and I found that I met a woman online from Ghana, from West Africa.
Yeah.
And she was here already in America, and I knew that we were going to be married just by talking to her on the phone. I just knew it. It's one of those things that you just know. You can't explain it. Okay, I was always told when I was a kid, when you find the right one, you will know it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really believe that. I always thought when you find the right one, it's because you have made it the right one, you know?
Okay.
But this is true. When you find the right one, you will just know it. And before I even met her face to face, I knew that I had to marry this woman.
Before you met her face to face?
Yes, before I met her face to face. Just from talking to her
She
on the
must have
phone.
a very beautiful voice.
Oh, man. Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Okay, so you met her, you had what united you guys, you were learning about African drums and beats and so forth. So then you started learning about Ghanaian culture.
Absolutely, yeah. I studied all that I could, everything I could find on YouTube about Ghana, as far as the population, everything, all the statistics I could find. But you really can't, you know, get a great grasp on what it's like until you're there.
Okay. So you decided to go with your wife?
Well, we finally went to
Yes.
meet my in-laws, and it was my father-in-law's 75th birthday also. So we combined his birthday with Christmas. 2 years ago we went, okay? And, well, I didn't really know the culture and the protocol on different things, so I was kind of quiet. But I observed a lot of things.
Yes, and what did you observe?
Well, I observed the different classes of people also, you know? And I was very interested in, you know, getting to be around deprived children and to try to understand their struggles, you know.
Now you, while you're doing your research and even from the news, even movies, whatever it is, you had some idea of what to expect, right? So when you got there, did your pre-ideas perceive the reality or?
Well, it was kind of what I expected, you know, but where I was staying was a upper middle class area. So in order to find the more deprived way of life, I'd have to seek it out
Okay.
and find where it was. But
And what called your heart to go and find the deprived life?
well,
What about that?
on my way home from that trip, I started, just taking it all in and trying to process how God could use me over there, because I believe this is what was going on, and I planned another trip to go in April of 2 years ago to go do some interviews at some orphanages, okay, in order to make a video documentary to be used as a fundraiser. So maybe some of my business owners here would be interested in donating to some of these orphanages. Okay? So I went in April of 2 years ago, and I visited a bunch of different orphanages, some state-run, some privately run, and some church-run orphanages. And it came to my knowledge that the first question that someone asks when they are asked to donate to a charity is, how do I know the money is actually going to where you're saying it's going? And I thought, my goodness, how can I actually raise money? People are going to wonder. So I thought the only way is if I'm in charge of the orphanage. If I'm in charge of checks and balances, if I'm in charge of all the inventory. So it would have to be my orphanage. So there I was in April 2 years ago in Ghana, going to make these documentary films, and it kind of changed. The plan kind of changed. Where I woke up in the morning and I thought, oh Lord, is this what you want me to do? You want me to build an orphanage? My goodness, are you kidding me? So, listen to this. I have a friend there at the same time. Okay, he was a pastor, and I was going to call him to tell him that I think I need to build an orphanage. So I called him. I said, good morning, Reverend, this is Leon. I have something to tell you. He says, oh no, wait, I have something to tell you. I said, okay, you go first, you tell me. He says, I am here with the king of Oyibi. He is my best friend, and he wants to give 10 acres of land if I can find an American to build an orphanage, and that's you. Can you believe that happened? I was shaken to the bone when he told me this. I was calling him to tell him this, and this is what he tells me. There I know the call was divinely inspired, and from there on in, I knew I would be committed for life to do this.
So what stage are you on right now? You have the acre of land.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. We went back for another trip
Yep.
in September of last year, and there all the ministers and the King of Oyibi and other people on the executive board had already registered the Kids of Ghana Foundation, me as the general director, and the king on the executive board, and three other people on the executive board. When I got there in September, they had a big party for me, okay? And this party included the signing of 10.21 acres of land over to the Kids of Ghana Foundation in order to build an orphanage, a school, and a hospital, okay? And after that, after I came home, we made it possible from donations to have the land surveyed, okay? And it's all surveyed and ready to go. So I came home and seeking sponsorship, of course. I was led to one CEO of a very established national company, and he is also involved in many different foundations all over the world. He is one of the guys that will probably sponsor big money to build this facility, okay? But what they need to see is self-sustainability. They want to see businesses that are going to keep this whole foundation going after it's built. They don't want to build it and see it crumble, in other words. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm setting up different businesses in Ghana right now.
What kind of businesses?
Well, on our next trip, we're going to have a mission trip, okay? And we have a place in Ghana that is designated for us. It has 8 rooms, and it has a bus. So this means if we bring couples, we could bring as many as 16 people. And they would all bring extra baggage full of clothing, okay? And we're going to set up 2 stores. One in the area where our land is located, and the other one is in an area where I stay with my father-in-law, okay? This is going to employ 5 people over there. They're going to sell clothing, and the money from the clothing, of course, pays these people, and it goes into the foundation account. And there are other businesses also. This is a real good one that I'm going to talk about next. It is a solar-powered cold storage shed, okay? It's a 13 by 10 shed with solar panels on top, powering a refrigeration unit, okay? Now, as we know in Africa and other countries, the ladies go to town every morning with a big bowl on their head filled with produce or anything, a lot of perishable items. Might be fish even, or whatever. And they get right into traffic in the intersections, and they sell all these things to the people driving by. Now, with these cold storage sheds located in their village, they will profit 40% more. Okay, so they won't be losing that 40% of their produce due to rotting, deterioration fruit if it's chilled. So these sheds can hold 50 of these bowls, which means 50 ladies can go in on the rental of these sheds or the purchase of them. And we're going to drop them all over Ghana. And we're actually going to prototype them here in America. We have some organic produce farms here in America that are very interested in having them prototype on their property.
Okay.
So does that sound like a good business to you?
It does. So you have a lot of plans in place. So could we talk about the orphans? When we're talking about orphans that you are working with, who are they? Where are they coming from?
Okay.
Paint us a picture.
I knew you were going to get to this, and I'm going to keep my eyes dry, okay? Now, these children are abandoned by their mothers because they don't have the means to care for them. Often you will see children in the trash heaps on the side of the road looking for anything of value, even food. We will get the children from the Department of Social Welfare, who are the ones who keep the records of these children. In other words, we can't just go grab them and say, come with me. We have to go through the right chains of command to get these children. A lot of times in other areas of Ghana, where the prostitutes get younger and younger, sometimes they are pregnated by who knows who, and they have the child on their hip while they are still working, okay? When the next person comes along interested in their services, they'll put the child down on the side of the road. If you drive by in the evening, sometimes your headlights will shine the eyes of these children sitting on the side of the road. These children sitting on the side of the road are vulnerable to attack. They're vulnerable to the sex slave trade and very evil things. These are the children that we are looking for. We are also looking for the most deprived children in the most deprived areas. I call them the children of the dirt. We are looking for them because they don't have the means to have any clothes or any shoes or proper nutrition. They don't even have the means to proper shelter. So we are seeking these type of people out. But we're not only going to help these children by providing them with a home, with an education, and schooling, and health care, but we are going to provide their parents with proper shelters, okay? Because a lot of places, they don't even have a tarp for a roof, you know, we're finding. So this is where it's all going.
When can you start? So right now you have surveyed the land, you are working with the Department of Children's Services in Ghana.
Yeah.
But when will you be ready to do the work?
Well, as soon as we can show self-sustainability, we can get some big money to break ground, okay? So right now we're going over there to locate all the components for our cold storage sheds, and to work on 3 other businesses also.
So how do you not necessarily sell the message, but how do you help people around here connect with what you have seen there so they can help you in your cause?
Well, I've got a pretty big mouth. I talk a lot about it. I meet a lot of people. I visit different churches and speak in front of lots of people in churches. And we have a Facebook page. And right now we actually have a fundraiser going on for my next mission trip. It's a Facebook fundraiser that you could find on Kids of Ghana Foundation Facebook page. You can find it on my page, which is Leon Monty. And that's about what we're doing right now.
Okay. So any help that you are for Wareham communities, what are you looking for? Is just the fundraiser right now?
If people could get in touch with me on the Leon Monty page or the Kids of Ghana page, we can show you how you can help by sending donations and by sending clothing. A lot of kids need shoes. I was very blessed by a store in New Bedford 2 months ago. They gave me 200 pair of little sandals for girls, you know, and lots of ladies' clothing. Most of this clothing is sold in there in Ghana, and the money goes to the people that are selling it, and it goes into the foundation also.
Okay. All right. So apart from that, what would you like from Santa this Christmas?
What would I like from Santa?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't thought about that. But, you know, I know, I just think of my kids. The kids of Ghana is what I think. And any help is appreciated. Any donation.
It's appreciated.
I mean, I don't need a new Cadillac or anything like that. You know, one of the things that I said in an interview on radio in Ghana was they asked me, how do we know you're not just going to set up camp here and then run out of town like has been done before? I told them there is nothing that I need. I don't need anything. I'm not a wealthy man. But there really isn't anything that I need, but there's lots of things that other people need, that truly need, you know. So that's what we seek. We seek to give.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for being in our studio this morning to tell us about yourself and about the work that you are doing in Ghana, and hopefully people will resonate with
Amen.
the efforts and reach out to you. You're a very easy person to find on social media.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And next time when you go to Ghana and come back, and then we can talk about what happened.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Fantastic. So that was Leon Monty here in the studio to talk about his efforts in Ghana, trying to help children, orphans who are neglected, giving them a better shot to survival. So he has a Facebook fundraiser that is going on. He's a very easy person to find. If you just type his name on social media, you will find him. You can message him if you have any more questions. For now, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to continue with more. Well, hello and thank you for being with us this morning. You are watching Good Morning Wareham, broadcasted live from our WCTV studio. This is your source for local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for a moment in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. On this day in December 20, 1957, while spending the Christmas holidays at Graceland in his newly purchased Tennessee mansion, the rock and roll star Elvis Presley receives his draft notice for the United States Army. Fans sent tens of thousands of letters to the Army asking him to be spared, but Elvis would have none of it. For 18 months, he served in the Company D, 32nd Tank Battalion, and 3rd Armored Division in Friedberg, Germany, where he attained the rank of sergeant. Widely praised for not seeking to avoid the draft or serve domestically, Presley was seen as a model for young Americans. After he got his polio shot from an Army doctor on national television, vaccine rates among Americans shot from 2% to 85%. By the time he came back, he was discharged on March 2nd, 1960. And also for today, in 1963, more than 2 years after the Berlin Wall was constructed by the East Germany to prevent its citizens from fleeing its communist regime, nearly 4,000 West Berlinians were allowed to cross into East Berlin to visit relatives. Under an agreement reached between East and West Berlin, over 17,000 people. Passes were eventually issued to West Berlin citizens, each pass allowing a one-day visit to communist East Berlin. Tears, laughter, and other outpourings of emotions characterized the unions that took place as mothers and fathers, sons and daughters met again, if only for a short time. Cold War tensions were never far removed from this scene. And documentarian Michael Moore's first Roger and Me opens in theaters on December 20, 1989. The film follows the economic impact of GM shutting down several auto factories in Moore's hometown of Flint, Michigan. Though Moore leavened his depressing movie with goofy anecdotes and absurdist set pieces, the humor did not disguise his rage at what had been done to Flint, a city that had once, thanks to GM, has been so thriving that people came from all over the country in hopes of landing one of its thousands of blue-collar jobs that paid middle class. And for today's birthday shout-out goes to Jonah Hill Fleetstein, an American actor, director, producer, screenwriter, and comedian. He was born in December 20 in 1983. He turns 35 years old today. He was born in Los Angeles, California. Hill is known for his comedic roles in films including Superbad, Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and many more. And that is all for this morning history segment. To learn more cool historical facts, you can go online under history.com. Stay with us. The coffee segment is next. But first, let's take a look at what we have for events. Well, welcome back. So the coffee segment is here. With me is the Vice President of the Wareham Gateman, Glenn Hennington.
Yes.
We are here to talk about a little mini controversy that is going on between the Wareham Gatemen and the Woo Sox, which stands for Worcester Red Sox, regarding the logo, the W. Okay, there are a lot of similarities. The
Yes.
permutations, you can hardly notice
Yeah.
what you're looking at. Anyhow, so before we dive into the controversy, talk to us about how you noticed it, where you were, and what happened.
Well, I happened to be in Florida back in November, and it's not uncommon because we've sold tens or hundreds of thousands of pieces of Wareham gear over the past decades. So it's not uncommon to see people across the country having that recognizable W. Just as the Boston Red Sox B is recognizable, our Wareham W, which we have trademarked, is just as recognizable. So, so to answer your question, when I was in Florida, I was shopping with my wife, and I happened to see a W. And so I went over to her and I said, "Oh, where you from? And whereabouts in Wareham are you?" And she says, "No, it's the Woo Sox." I said, "Would you mind if I take a picture of your hat?" So she put the visor down. I took a picture of the hat. So it just so happened, the gatemen meet the second Thursday of every month. So that following Thursday, we had a meeting, and I happened to bring the picture. and without saying anything, they said, "That's our W." And I said, "No, it's the Woo Sox." And then I believe a week or two after, the Woo Sox had their big unveiling in Worcester. And we probably would have recognized it then anyways, but we got a heads up of what it was. So after that came out, I made contact with authorization from the board, made contact with the Woo Sox, and we've had several discussions up through last Thursday, and we're trying to work this out.
So what do discussions consist of? What do you say? You say it's our logo.
Right.
And they say?
They say that they would look into it, and there might have been an oversight. They don't necessarily say it. I don't believe anything was intentional with them. It could have been an oversight somehow, somewhere. So we're just trying to work things out at this point. But we are having dialogue to come to a resolution, hopefully. You know, the board feels very strongly about defending the W, for lack of better words. Now, we did trademark it, and if we don't do something about it, we lose the protection of the trademark. So if we have to, and hopefully we don't have to go the full legal route, we'll have to. But again, hopefully we've had some positive discussions, friendly, that we want to resolve this. We're both in the same arena as far as baseball. We're 79 miles apart from here to Worcester. We had a good relationship with the Pawtucket Red Sox, and the Pawtucket Red Sox in general have a good relationship with the whole Cape Cod Baseball League. We're not carrying the fight for the Cape Cod Baseball League. This is our individual franchise is taking the fight on here. So that's really where we're at. We want them to succeed, obviously, whether it was Pawtucket or in Worcester, and hopefully we'll have a good relationship with them. But we do have to straighten this out.
So what is a risk here? I mean, if Woo Sox is using the same W as the Wareham Gatemen, what else are we losing?
Well, why couldn't we have the B? Why couldn't we use the Coca-Cola trademark? Why couldn't we? It's the protection. That's how it works. It's the protection of the, you're asking about damages in a legal sense. The courts can award damages if someone infringes on a trademark or a copyright as well. I think when we had discussed in the past, people can Google the Washington Nationals that just won the World Series, look at their W, and look at the Walgreens W. And there was a lawsuit over that.
It seems like W is a very popular letter.
It seems to be, doesn't it? I don't know. So that that got resolved down there. Not talking out of school because it was public record. You can look it up and you can see what happened there. But again, it's just defending the W and defending your trademark. You have every right. It's very, very similar, and again, it's something that Wareham. I mean, I know it's morally right versus legally right, but morally that's represents Wareham as well. And so again, people trademark for a reason, and this is one of the reasons why.
So could you talk us through the process of trademarking a logo? When you are the gate man finding the W and trademarking it, what are the steps? Because I'm trying to understand if the mistake that was made by Woo Sox, if it is a common mistake.
It could be. It could be. Again, I want to stress again, I don't believe it was done intentional at all. I think it was an oversight. But let's just say, Queen, you have a logo with your beautiful first name, and you want to do something, and hopefully you do well in broadcasting, and you're going to come out with some sort of trademark somehow. Yeah, the first thing you have to do is search the registry within the federal system to see if there's a likeness of that out there. So that's really the main thing. And then after that, you then have to file, and that process can take anywhere from months to perhaps years if it's contested. Someone, if you threw your logo out there, whatever you're going to have, and then it pops up that there's a queen something in Idaho, they're going to call you on it, and they're going to contest it. And so that's what happens. It's just a question of filing, awaiting any responses. If there's someone contests it, that's how it works, and that's how the process. It's really that. It's sort of. I'm simplifying it, but there's a lot of legalese and legal papers that have to be filed. But again, I think what happened here was there might have been an oversight somewhere. I'm not saying whether it's the Woo Sox or any other baseball operation that was doing it for them. I don't know. But again, hopefully it's just I know it was a harmless mistake. But again, that's our W.
And you're getting the vibe that it was a harmless mistake from the Woo Sox. They
Yes.
are cooperating with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're cooperating with them too. We want to resolve this, and hopefully we can do something.
So tell me, I mean,
There are, not to interrupt, there are some other logos that the Woo Sox have.
Okay.
We're not contesting any of those. They have a squiggly W, a cute, again, you can go on their website and see their other logos. But clearly, on a lot of their merchandise, and the hats and the shirts, it's our W.
So they're almost like advertising for the Wareham Gatemen, but they're
Right.
taking all the profits.
Right. Do you have the,
We have, and we will actually put
okay,
them
because I was
up.
going to take it and show
All
you.
those emails, yeah, I would put that during the
Those pictures, yeah.
editing, yes.
Okay.
So people can see those nuances.
Sure.
Because even you had to point out to me
Right.
the difference between the
Right,
pointy and the little
right.
flower.
If I didn't say that, you would have thought they were the same.
Yes. But once again, I'm not as,
Right.
I don't do sports.
Right.
I
No,
don't
but
follow
anyone that's
sports.
seen it, it's very close, and that's the standard. It doesn't have to be identical. It could be just be, similar in nature.
Similar in nature. All right. So since it's your first time to ever be in this studio with me, anyhow,
Nice to
talk
see you.
about the Gatemen,
Yeah.
you guys are doing great.
Thank you.
Especially in the summer, you bring a lot of tourists here. You bring a lot of pride to this community. So could you talk about the Gatemen and how they're doing? And
Yeah. Well, some exciting news for planning ahead if people want to write on their calendar next year. Two big events, two huge events is going to hit Wareham with the Gatemen next summer. At the end of July, we're hosting the Cape Cod League All-Star Game, okay? That usually attracts 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people everywhere they go. So watch for that at the end of July. It'll be a wonderful event. And there's a special event on July 17th. We're going to be hosting the Israeli Olympic baseball team playing the Wareham Gatemen, July 17th here in Wareham. That's next year is the Olympics in Tokyo, and the Israeli baseball team evidently is touring. And we were fortunate enough through our manager Jerry Weinstein, as I understand it, was able to secure them as an exhibition game. So that's going to be a huge event that day to see
Right
the
here in Wareham.
Right here in Wareham, the actual Israeli Olympic baseball team is going to be playing in Tokyo.
wow, these kids are amazing.
Yeah.
Where do they come from?
They come from all over the country. All over the country. They're the top college players in the country. Generally, most of them are freshmen, sophomores, and they some juniors. And they showcase. Every night you see the scouts there behind the home plate with their guns, the speed guns there. And
Do you go to scouts them, or they apply to play for the Gatemen?
well, they get yes. Everyone, all 10 teams across the Cape, everyone's off on their own. So, through our general manager staff, Andrew Lang, who's done a terrific job for us. Of course, Tom Gay is our president, but Andrew does mostly the scouting and securing the personnel. Through their contacts with the coaches, our coaches, you have to speak to the coaches in these other colleges across the country. So, you can see our roster every year, from here, from as close as Yukon and around here, Northeastern, Harvard, BC. We've had people play here all the way to, from Alaska to, because we're the premier wooden bat league. The Cape Cod Baseball League came to fruition in 1885. And during those days, the early days, they had all towns and villages, like from Sandwich to Wareham. In fact, Wareham won the title in 1930. Go back that far. And then as the men and women, or the men were coming back from World War II, that brought more baseball players back to the Cape. So it expanded, and actually at that point it took off with the teams, the players, the recognition, and then eventually became incorporated in compliance with the NCAA. And since 1985, we've been the Wooden Bat League. There was a period, believe it or not, before 1985 where we were using wooden, aluminum bats, which is a no-no now. And so right now we're the exclusive, not exclusive, but we feel, the reputation is the best in the league across the country. That's why we get so many scouts here. In fact, we can proudly say, just to rattle off a few names, George Springer, who went to UConn. He went to class while playing here. He was the MVP in the World Series a few years ago for Houston. He's a Wareham Gateman. We've had top Kyle Schwarber plays for the Cubs. Mo Vaughn over the years, Barry Zito. We've had several, others, in our programs you can read, and we have so many players that go on to play for the major leagues. And another thing, and this is probably for your audience as well, we have interns. Okay, it's not just the players. This is a hidden jewel. That we have interns, the radio, TV announcers, the interns behind the scenes, as you have here, from trainers to sideline reporters. They go on professionally. We've had reports on that. In fact, our recent prize, if you will, is Megan O'Brien. Megan was with us as a sideline reporter and intern, and she went on, and you can see her on television almost nightly. She's with Patriots All Access, as well as the Patriot shows that she's been on television. So you might recognize her. And it's a great resume builder. In fact, one of my jobs is charge of events. Anyone wants to sing the national anthem, give us a call.
Yeah.
It's a great, again, resume builder that you're able to sing the national anthem at the Cape Cod Baseball League game. All these other side things that we shouldn't take for granted, but other than the baseball players, there's a lot going on.
A lot going on, involving the community. So
yes.
Showcasing the talent right here.
Absolutely.
Giving people the platform.
Yeah, and people don't actually even have to go over the bridge as well. Funny story, a few years ago I get a call, I should say an email, a correspondence, and they said, we're in Falmouth right now playing Wareham. How come Wareham is in the Cape Cod Baseball League? Again, perception.
Yeah.
So I emailed back and they said, fair question. I said, very fair question. I said, before 1914, when the Cape Cod Canal was built, we just celebrated that 100th anniversary, a few years ago. I said, before that was built, we were the Cape Way, the gateway to the Cape, and we have the sign there, Route 28. And so I had to explain it that way. And I said, since the canal, was done in 1914, I said, there is that perception unless you go over the bridge and out on the Cape.
You're not a Cape, yeah.
Yeah. So, so there is that perception. We have to go as far as Orleans. They got to come here, and it's tough on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Absolutely.
Games like that is tough. So.
Well, Wareham Gateman is one of those major attractions around this region, actually, in the summer, bringing people to us because the operations that takes place there, it's quite phenomenal, and it opens a lot of doors for young people. So we have about 2 minutes. What should we be paying attention to? You talked about the upcoming major games in the summer. These kids who are coming in the summer to play here, how does the arrangement work, like as chaperones?
Well, we have host family.
yeah,
We have
hosts.
host families. We have a tremendous organization, and we have Mary Chapman, who's our host family director, and in fact, I think they're always looking. So if anyone wants to contact the organization, ask for Mary, and so that the kids generally stay with the host families, and that's how it works.
Very good. So for now, you're still in discussions, negotiations with the Woosocks.
Yes.
Cannot wait to hear what the outcome is.
Yep.
But you're prepared to defend the W.
We are going to defend the W. Okay? We're going to fall on that sword for Wareham.
Fantastic.
No, I know it's all fun and games, but I'll tell you, we have a very hard-working and dedicated board, and entire community of the workers and volunteers, strictly volunteers.
Well, you put in your blood and sweat
And they,
in there.
they bleed cranberry and blue.
Yeah.
They really do. And I'm just telling you that, I'm probably a little softer as trying to negotiate, where I get some hardliners behind me. So. I'm
At
just
least you
telling
noticed it. You were doing your homework. Yeah, at least you noticed it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I cannot wait to hear what the outcome will be, and hopefully you will
Yeah.
be back to share.
Yeah.
And please do not be a stranger.
Okay.
Before the season starts, tell us what's going on. I would love to have you as many
Sure.
times as possible.
Yep.
Even the players, I would love to hear about their stories. Where
Well,
they're
why
coming
don't you
from.
come? Why don't you come and we'll have you throw out a first pitch.
Oh my God!
Now, if you can't sing, why don't you? We'll do that
No,
for
I
you.
cannot sing at all.
Okay, can you throw it 60 feet, 6 inches?
Well, do my very best.
Okay,
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
would be
fine.
awesome.
okay.
To my viewers, thank you so much for joining us this morning for another Good Morning Wareham show. My guest was Glenn Hennington, the Vice President, the Vice President of Wareham Gateman, here to talk about the discussions with Woosocks regarding the trademarked W, the logo representing Wareham Gateman, and also what's to come for next summer. A lot of great stuff. As for, if you missed us this morning, the show will air this evening at 6 p.m. It will also go on our YouTube channel, Wareham Community Television on YouTube. As for me, this is my last show for the season. I am going away. I'll be back in February 1st, and maybe by the second week of February, you'll see and hear my voice again. But as for now, I'm closing the season, and I am so grateful for this experience. I have learned a lot, and I thank all the guests who came in here to share their ideas, what they do, what's going on in Wareham. I am truly, truly grateful. So with that, Wareham, I wish you not only a fantastic weekend, I wish you a great holiday, not season, Christmas, and Happy New Year.